What's going on, everybody? David Elliott here. Hope everyone is doing well. It's been a while since I've uploaded a video here on the YouTube channel, but in today's video, we're going to be looking at the new software update for the Jericho system. So I'm proud to present to you the Jericho 3.0, which is going to automate your underwriting process for all of your cash, all of your creative deals. So sub-2, seller finance, hybrid, all the automation of the mathematics will be done for you on the Jericho software, including email blasting sellers and email blasting buyers during dispositions. So if you haven't already looked at the Jericho software, this will be a new video for you to check it out. This will be a part 1 video series. The next couple of videos on this channel are going to be dedicated to a full tutorial on all the new functionalities and features for the Jericho software. So if you've already acquired the Jericho 3.0, then stick around till the end of this video, or if you are a new wholesaler or investor, you may also check out this video as well as other videos that will be uploaded shortly after this one here as a part 1. This tutorial series is going to be completely dedicated to how to use the Jericho software. So let's get started. There's going to be a lot to cover here. So I'm going to minimize myself here on the screen. This is going to be part 1. So when you receive your Jericho software, it's going to be a Dropbox link. It'll be in the order confirmation receipt. The website of which you can download the Jericho software will be in the video description below. You can download the new software here on the website. Your file will be automatically emailed to you, and it'll be attached as a link on your order confirmation receipt. So check it out in your inbox. If you don't see it in your inbox, check your spam folder. Sometimes it'll just randomly show up in the spam folder. But just follow that link. It'll bring you to a Dropbox website, and then you'll download the file from there. When you receive your Jericho software, it'll appear to you in the downloads page of your folder. Let me see if I can pull that up for you real quick. I had it open earlier. I'm going to try and open it up again. Give me 1 second here while I do that. Let's close this file. I've got it open, but it's not working. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to move this over to my screen. It'll be in your downloads section here. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to right-click on the file that you've received. Click on Properties. And when you click on Properties, you'll see this General tab here. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to click on Unblock. You're going to want to unblock this file because there are macros running on the Excel workbook. The macros are for the underwriting process for cash and for your creative finance offers. And the macros are also for the email blasting and for the buyer's dispositions. When the computer sees a macro on a spreadsheet, it'll think that it's some kind of malware or some kind of virus. I assure you it's not. It's just how the workbook has been made. We have multiple lines of code here that's going to help you as the user to automate everything from underwriting, email blasting, and buyer's dispositions. So click on the unblock, click on Apply, and then click OK. Let's head on over to the file itself. When you open up that file, it'll give you a security warning, and on that security warning, you're going to want to click on Enable Content. So that'll be step number 2. Step number 3 is to dedicate the file path for all of your saved LOIs. Your saved LOIs will be here on the Master tab. So if you come on over to the Master tab, which is also going to be Master tab plus blasting and emails, that's the official name of the tab. You come on over to the column I. Column I is going to have your file path destination. What is this file path? The file path is going to be for all of your saved LOIs that are being sent out to sellers, whether it's cash or creative finance. You're going to want a dedicated folder to save all of your offers that are being sent out. So you can create a new folder. I keep mine in my desktop. I'm going to move myself over here on the screen again. I like to keep my LOIs here on the desktop. I'll give you an example. I just named it as Excel Creative LOIs. You can see here that I have a huge list of LOIs here that have been auto-generated from the Jericho software. You can create a new folder, or you can rename a folder that you already have and just dedicate that, as that folder is going to be for all of your cash and creative finance offers. It's all going in one folder. The only folder that will be different will be for your buyer's dispositions. On your buyer's dispositions, you're going to want to dedicate a separate folder path, which is here on line 2B of the instructions tab. Create a separate folder path for buyer's dispositions, because the buyer's dispositions, if we head on over to the dispositions tab real quick, this is going to be a full pamphlet. You can kind of advertise that new property to your buyer. So you'll be able to put in all the property details, whether it's cash or creative finance. This is just an example here on your screen. This is something that I typically do for my buyers. And you do that and you click on this red button over here, which we'll get to in a later point in the video. It's going to save this template here as a PDF, which you'll be able to email to your buyers, and it'll just describe, what all the property details are. So create a new and separate file path destination for buyers' dispositions. Now, step number 3 is if you don't already have a Microsoft account, you're going to need to set one up. This is not going to be a video on how to create a new account. That should be pretty self-explanatory. But if you're running Windows, I think almost everybody here will have a Windows account for Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint, Microsoft Word. Create a new account or log into an account that you already have. And then what you're going to also want to make sure that you're using an older version of Outlook. So if I pull up the website information for the Jericho software, make sure that the Microsoft Outlook is the version 2022 or less, because version 2023 and beyond, such as 2024, that will not work. The VBA macros, for whatever reason, I am not the developer from Microsoft Office, but for whatever reason, the VBA macros in Excel will not work in Microsoft Outlook 2023 and up. So make sure you're using Microsoft Outlook 2022 and below. And for example, if I pull up my Outlook, this version here, I believe is Microsoft Outlook 2021, but it'll give me a new feature here on the top right-hand side. It'll give me the choice to look at or use the new version of Outlook. Make sure you have that turned off. You don't need the new version of Outlook. The older version is totally fine. You want to keep Outlook open at all times when you're using the Excel spreadsheet. The reason being, you want to keep that Outlook application open is because when you're sending out emails through Excel. You're not going through a Gmail or a Yahoo account. You are directly sending out emails from your Excel workbook to your sellers, but it is connecting itself to the Microsoft Outlook application. So make sure that is turned on while you are sending out emails. So let's move forward here. I think that's everything. It's pretty self-explanatory. This is a pretty easy installation. Let's go on over to the buy box criteria. This tab here is just for those who are looking to JV. If you're looking to JV with myself or some of my partners here, you can come in as a bird dog. And these are the property characteristics that we are looking for whenever you're sending out leads to us. I have a separate video here on the YouTube channel explaining the leads and properties that we would prefer to purchase or even assign to an end buyer. So you can check out that video here on the YouTube channel. I'll leave that video in the description below if you're interested. But this is for those who want to be a bird dog and just want to create some extra cash on the side. There's a free Discord link here that you can check out. That link here is clickable. And then you'll have a link here for PropStream. I'm not affiliated with PropStream, but this is a massive discount for you as the individual for purchasing the Jericho software. I believe the PropStream discount here is, I think, for $55 a month. In fact, if you want, I can click on it right now. Let's click on it and then see what the actual price is. But I think it's running $55 right now with the discount that we have a connection with. And I believe the standard price is $99 a month. So it's actually $58 right now. So you can check that out. That should help anyone who's an investor or wholesaler save, a couple bucks each month. So this is the buy box criteria tab. You're more than welcome to delete this off the Excel workbook. You don't need to keep this. If you want to delete it, just right click and click on delete, or you can also click on hide. But this is meant for those who want to participate and want to act as a bird dog. For your leads import, now things get a little bit more technical. So if we scroll on to the right-hand side of the leads import, if you go on over to column R and column S, you now have the ability with the Jericho software to import your CSV files from PropStream. And I'm going to do a basic rundown of how that works. So I've already got one set up here, but when you download any type of CSV file from PropStream, we could do a separate video on that later. But let's go on over to my foldered path for PropStream. I've got 2 files here that are CSV files that I download. I think they're about 10 properties each on each file, so it's not a lot. But this is just to show you the demonstration of how you can import CSV files directly into the Jericho software. So you have 2 options here. Option number 1 is to import a single CSV file Option number 2 is to import multiple CSV files. So I've already got this implemented. You can copy this address here, make sure the address is correct. The only thing that you would be changing is your folder path destination along with your name, as well as the file name as well. Make sure you also have CSV as the extension. So for example, go to your folder path here, create a new folder, or if you already have a folder saved for exported CSV files and PropStream, you can keep that folder. But when you click on the folder itself, you'll get this web address here from your desktop. You can copy and paste this into the Excel workbook here. Copy and paste that, then go back into a particular CSV file that you want to import and right click on that file, click on rename, and then highlight the entire file, including the extension itself. When you click on copy, then you will copy that here. So what that's going to do is you're telling the Jericho software the folder and the CSV file that you want to specifically import into here. So let's run the button. This is a macro, by the way. So this little arrow here, you can just click on this button and it'll automatically bring that data in here. I'm going to click on it now. And then we can see here that says data imported successfully. We're going to click on OK. We're going to scroll on over to the left. I'll move myself here to the bottom left so we're not blocking anything. And we can see here that it's already imported all the information from PropStream. So this is what I have saved on PropStream. You can filter out the options for PropStream when you're exporting. You don't need to export every single data type that is available for PropStream. You can select which ones that you want to export. These are the ones that I specifically export. I specifically export the address, the state, the loan balance, the loan 1 rate, estimated remain balance of open loans, MLS date, MLS account, MLS agent name, MLS phone, MLS agent email, MLS broker name. This is all specifically for on market. So I do a lot of on market. If you're doing off market, then you do not need column H through K. I believe columns A through G, which would be sufficient for you. The reason why I have columns A through G is because this is the only information that is required to run the auto underwriting. So I don't need any other information other than this from PropStream. When I do the underwriting, which will be in the next video of this series, the only variables that would be missing would be the rent value. And the rent value you can find on Zillow Rent Manager, or you can also find the rent value if you're doing on market. You can find that rent value posted on the MLS website itself for that particular property. But let's go back into the leads import. I don't want to jump too ahead of myself here. So that is for the single CSV file. So make sure you are copying and pasting the file path destination folder as well as the file of interest. Copy and paste that name, including the extension. The extension must be CSV, cannot be any other extension. The cell reference here is R4. So if for whatever reason you are inserting or deleting columns here, make sure that what's highlighted here in yellow always remains in R4. Otherwise, the macro that is running here will not work. That macro is connected to the Excel cell R4. So if this is for some reason in a different cell, so it's just now it's in S4, the macro will not work. So you will not be able to import any type of file. File must be in R4. You can also import multiple CSV files. So I'm going to show you that now. So I'm going to highlight these cells, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to click on clear content. So when we clear content, it is deleting the data from the query database that's running in Excel. So you're going to click on yes, because you want to clear that data. And now we have 2 files here, 2 test files. So the test files, how that's working is that all it needs is the folder path destination. So we can see here the folder path destination is users, David, OneDrive, desktop, exported properties, and then we have a backslash. No other information is needed after that backslash, because how the macro is working is that it's going to look at all these files that are in this folder, and it is going to grab every single Excel file in this particular folder that has an extension CSV. So in this case, we have 2 folders here with the extension CSV. And so when we minimize this and we run the macro now, it is going to import all the data from those two spreadsheets, combine it into one, and post it here into the Leads Import tab on the Jericho software. So that was super fast. You saw how quick that was. It's going to save you a ton of time. And so another thing to mention is that when you are importing multiple CSV files, just realize that column A is telling you which file that it grabbed from. So in this case, rows 2 through 11, it grabbed from test file number 1, and then row 12 through row 22, it grabbed from test file number 2. You don't need this column, so just highlight the column, click delete, and you're good to go. The software does that automatically just to indicate to you where each data point was pulled from, which folder. And then what we can do as well is we come over here, because this is a prop stream data points that we have exported. The last 2 columns here from prop stream is not something that we need as well, so we can actually delete this. So columns L through M, date added and method of add, we don't need this, we can delete this. This is just standard information that PropStream likes to export on their CSV files. We can also delete column L as well. Let's do that. And then let's come on over here. This is going to be, if you look here, you can look at row 12. Row 12 is essentially a copy of row 1. So this copy of row 12 is the exact same verbiage as row number 1. We don't need that. So we can just highlight this. We'll highlight all the rows. We'll click delete, and we'll click on shift cells up and then click OK. So again, because it pulled data from multiple CSV files, this is something that you'll just have to keep in mind. Delete column A, and then just look for the header. In this case, we had 2 headers, so there were 2 separate CSV files. Delete common headers because you only need 1 common header. And now that we have everything organized, we can filter this out to any way that we want. So a very good feature to do here, since we are using email blasting features with the Jericho software, is to split the first and last name of the agent or seller that we are communicating with. So you can use the Jericho software for on-market or off-market. You can see here that on PropStream, on the CSV file, the CSV file has both the first and the last name of the agent. We don't need the last name of the agent. In this case, we only need the first name. So what we can do is we can highlight column H, and if we go over to data, we are going to click on text to column. And you click on text to column, leave it as delimited, click next, click on space, remove the tab feature because there is a space here between the first and last name. You can see here below in the preview section, you can see here that we have MLS, Erica, agent staff, Jade, name, Clover. What it's basically doing is that it's just separating the first and last name. Click on next. We are going to keep the first name. We are not going to import the last name, and we're also not going to import this third column here. So the only column here that's going to remain is the first column with the first name. So keep that as a general, and then column number 2 and 3, click on do not import. When you click on finish, you can see how easy that was. You just remove the last names of all the agents involved. So we're going to keep this information because this information here is going to be needed when we're starting to do an email blast with the Jericho software. And then if we move on over to this column here, column M, I wrote a specific email validation formula here, which is going to validate whether or not an email address from the agent or seller is correct. What it is looking for is looking at the syntax. It will not look at the domain. It won't tell you whether or not the domain is viable and whether or not it's able to receive incoming emails. But what it will do is that it will check the syntax and make sure that you are not missing anything in that email address itself. So what we could do here is if you go on your Excel spreadsheet and you type in the word is email valid, when you type in is email valid, put that over the MLS agent email. So if we just start from the beginning, let's just do that. Look what it equals is email valid. You can see here that it auto-populated. This particular Excel formula is only found on the Jericho software. It's one that I wrote myself. You're going to then highlight the MLS agent email address, close it with a parentheses, click enter, and it comes back as true. Now, why is it coming back as true? Because the syntax of the email address is correct. So this will give you a higher probability of sending out emails to correct email addresses and not getting anything sent back to you. And what you could do now is that you can basically click on the cell and double click at the very bottom right of the Excel cell. Click on that, and you can see here that it has auto-populated, and it's now in accordance. It's going to test every email address in this particular column. So if we go over here to Dawn, which is row 6, we can see here that Dawn's email address is true. So now you have the confirmation, knowing that emails that are going to be sent out with LOIs are being sent out to correct email addresses. So that's a nice, helpful feature for anyone using the Jericho software. And let's see. I think we'll leave it at this. I think this is a good enough place to leave the video. We'll continue on with the video series into part 2. In part 2, we're going to auto underwrite all of our LOIs for cash, sub-2, seller finance, and hybrids. But I think this is a good breakdown of the first 3 tabs here of the Excel workbook, the Jericho, how to use everything. In fact, what we could do is maybe we could go one step further. Let's go one step further. I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to show you an additional way that you can also import data. It's going to be a little bit more extensive. You might not be familiar with Curie, but this might be a good way for you to learn something new. So if you go over to data on your Excel spreadsheet, you click on data, you click on from text /CSV. You're then going to click on the CSV file that you want to import. So in this case, I'm going to want to import my test file number 1 from this folder path. That's my CSV file that I want to import. Click on import. You can see here now that we have a Curie connection, and now it's basically broken down everything on that workbook and showing you the columns and rows that are going to be imported here. So what we're going to do now, everything looks fine on my end. There's nothing here that I want to necessarily delete. If you wanted to delete something, what you could do is you can come over here to transform data, and it'll open up a separate window. This is a separate window that is now updated. In fact, maybe what we will do is we will just delete the last 2 columns here since we don't need them. We'll click on remove columns here. So we're going to click on that one, and then we're going to remove this column here. Click remove column, and everything else looks fine. We're going to close it, and then we're going to load 2. Close and load 2. Make sure you're specifying that you're loading 2. When you're saying that you're loading 2, you're now going to select this particular workbook. So we're going to keep this as a table. We're going to go to existing worksheet. I want the table to go and be imported into A1. So we're going to click on existing worksheet, leads imported, A1, click on OK. And we can see here that now we have a Curie connection to the Excel spreadsheet. We can close that out. And this is just another way to import data. So if you didn't know that already, now you do know. Personally, I don't like this whole setup with the Curie connection. I think it's a lot easier to use the macros involved, and you saw how quick that was. It's a matter of probably about a minute difference, but the functionality is just way better to just use a macro as opposed to going through a selection of buttons here that you now have to import data. But if for some reason you wanted to use the Curie connection, you now know how to use it. So that's an additional bonus to you guys. But we're going to leave it off here at this video. Really the only thing here that I would do with this data, if I were in your shoes, if you were sending out offers to sellers or to agents, is just, filter out the data according to your liking. I'm not going to go into this video and start filtering out what I would do in a particular scenario, because I think everybody's going to be a little bit different in terms of the filtration process. But just look at the data and look at it in a way that you want to work with it. So we'll leave it off at this video. In part 2, we're going to do the auto underwriting for sub-2, seller finance, and hybrids. I think that will be a fun and exciting video that a lot of you will enjoy. It's going to be one of many important features here of the Jericho 3.0. So I'll see you on the next video in part 2. Take care, and thank you for watching.